Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dane and Derek Show. Derek speaking. Dane and I don't have an episode this week. The two of us are taking a little bit of a short break to rest and recuperate. It's been quite a busy month for the both of us, and we thought that it would probably be best if we take a little bit of a break and breather before we get back into recording our next block of episodes. Sorry that we don't have an episode this week. But if you need a podcast, which I feel like that's a very funny statement because there's so many podcasts, but if you need a podcast to listen to, I've got a few to recommend to you this week. These first few are from some friends of ours, and the last couple are just what's in my personal podcast feed. So to kick things off, everyone should go check out The Queer Quadrant, hosted by Brooke Solomon and Jordan Gustafson. This dynamic duo breaks down four-quadrant blockbusters and shows us the queer subtext deep within them. It's a real blast. I guest starred on their episode about Troy, where we broke down the Legend of Achilles and the Trojan War. Real fun time, real great people. Really love their show. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Next up is The Old Kids Movies, hosted by Trevor Howell and AJ Beltis. They review popular, obscure, and forgotten childhood movies and discuss if they hold up, what it would take to make them today, and look at where the stars are now. This one's great. There's just so many good movies. Like, they talk about Flubber, they talk about Road to El Dorado, they talk about just so many like movies you forgot existed, and it's a real treat. Oh, The Pacifier. The Pacifier is one of my favorite episodes. You got to check that one out. It's a really fun show, and of course, shout out to Trevor. Trevor has, old Claw Mountain pal with Dane and I, doing some good movie review stuff. So yeah, great show. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Next up is My Pop 5, hosted by Ryan Rael. I'm so sorry, Ryan. I met you that one time at Megan's birthday party, and we subscribed to each other's podcasts. So sorry that if I butchered your last name. But My Pop 5 is a show where Ryan brings on different people to talk about 5 pieces of pop culture that have influenced them in their life. Particular episode that I have listened to is the episode with Megan Pham, who is a mutual friend of mine and Ryan's. And it's a fun show. It's a real nice, got a nice chill vibe, just listening to people talk and have a conversation. You really feel like you're in the room with them. Really love it. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Next up is, of course, I got to plug Diceology, Dane's show. Not the Diceology podcast, just Diceology. Just Google Diceology, one word. But it's a show that Dane does with his friends Natalie, Will, and Olivia. It's got magic, comedy, role-playing, dice rolling, and some incredible world building. Like, for real, some really incredible world building. You can listen to Shepherds, which is a great intro to the show if you love more traditional fantasy adventure and mythological kind of actual plays. But if you're more of a sci-fi kind of person, then check out 11 Jump Gates, which is a fantastic sci-fi romp and thrill-driven expanse of content. It's so much fun. There's just a real nice chill game vibe. You feel like you're with them at the table listening to a wonderful sort of piece of theater or story. I really love this show. 10 out of 10 would recommend. And if you're feeling real going down the Dane Fogdall podcast rabbit hole, you could go find the Level 1 podcast, which also had Will on it. That's also a fun show. I would also recommend that show. It's complete, so you can binge the entirety of the show. That's a very fun dungeon world based actual play that they did a couple years ago. Okay, that's it for sort of the Friends segment. Now we're going to move into talking about just what's in my podcast feed. First things first, I've got Braving the Elements. It's the Avatar: The Last Airbender podcast. It's where Dante Bosco and Janet Varney basically break down every episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's really great. It's really insightful. I love everything Dante Bosco. I love Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I mean, we're coming up on that time when it's time to rewatch the entirety of the series, so this would probably be a great show to listen to after watching that show. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Next up is my personal favorite Dungeons and Dragons actual play podcast, Dungeons and Daddies, asterisk, not a BDSM podcast. It's probably one of the best Dungeons and Dragons podcasts out there in the actual play format. It's got a wealth of cinematic episodes ripe with insane quips and shenanigans. It's got Freddie Wong, Matt Arnold, Will Campos, Anthony Birch, Beth May, and they're imagine your favorite dessert and imagine if it were better. And imagine if you could eat that much sugar every day and you'd be fine. Yeah, that's the show. It is the icing on the cake that icing on the cake wishes it could be. And it's just such a funny show. It gets me through my day, it gets me through my commute, it picks me up when I'm feeling down, and it makes me laugh louder than I ever thought I could possibly laugh. So yeah, go check out their show. Such a good show. Cannot express. Real fun time. And last, and probably one of my more consistent lists is the podcast Asians Represent. They're a podcast and a live stream show from the One Shot Network that creates a conversation, introducing new perspectives to the broader gaming community and creating spaces for new voices in the industry. Their show, Dungeons and Asians, is a fantastic actual play, and they have a really great episode 0 and a really great, I believe it's a Quiet World, a Quiet Town game where they basically built the entirety of the world that they play in. Also, their Masks game is one of the best pieces of Masks content if you've ever played Masks, a New Generation tabletop role-playing game. They're really fantastic. Their most recent episode of the show, however, because it's not just an actual play, it's also a show where they break down sort of a lot of things in media pertaining to like Asian culture in gaming, and it's really great, really informative. And their latest episode talks about how to make a Japanese-themed campaign setting without samurai. Yes, and it's very good. It's very informative. It's very, very cool. If you love history, you're gonna get a lot of that on this show. And if you love just like learning about just how to construct games, this is a great show for you. So yeah, those are my recs for the week. Real quick, just going to go down the line. Queer Quadrant, the Old Kids Movies, My Pop 5, Diceology, Braving the Elements, Dungeons and Daddies, not a BDSM podcast, and Asians Represent. All these are great shows. I would really recommend you all check them out. Yeah, they're also all, with the exception of maybe Dungeons and Daddies and Diceology, they're all shows where you can just kind of start wherever you're most familiar. Which are my personal favorite kind of podcasts. But for Dungeons and Daddies and Diceology, I do recommend starting at the beginning of an arc, because especially for Dungeons and Daddies, it's just too good. It's just too good. It's just too good. But yeah. Anyway, that's it for this week on our sort of fake episode. Make sure to, let us know if there's anything you want to see us do on the show. We're doing an Ask Us Anything next week. So if you have questions, you can still get them in. Because we didn't get a chance to record it. So that's a thing. And then we're doing a Princess Bride review. So if you love that movie, make sure to go watch it. And after that, we got some fun ideas, but we're always looking on the lookout for something new. So if anyone has if anybody has anything that they would like us to particularly talk about, let us know. Tweet at us at Dane and Derek. That's Dane, D-A-N-E, and then N, and then Derek, D-E-R-E-K. That's our handle across everything. Instagram, Twitter. We're not on Facebook. I think that's it. Yeah. But yeah. So yeah, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week with a full episode. Thanks for being patient with us. We love you all. Thank you all for listening. And yeah, have a good rest of your restful Wednesday. Bye-bye.